a kid from getting sick. You can't prevent a kid from, having an emergency or breaking an arm or, they're just things. You may not be able to make every soccer game or every football practice, but, there's just a way, and you have to have that kind of flexibility, which I think is becoming more and more appealing to individuals as to the company they're going to work for, because they want that flexibility. So what would you suggest to women who are just starting out running their own business? Do you have any special advice for them?
Well, I would say, to be patient. Anything worth an endeavor takes time. And while your notion of, what you're going to start and build may feel like this could be an overnight success, there really are no overnight successes. So just know that there's going to be time and energy you've got to dedicate. You have to have that patience and perseverance to see it through. And with that, especially if you have kids or a spouse that misses you terribly during that time, you need to understand that is going to pull you and consume you a bit more. So how can you create tools to compensate for that? Is there something each week, when you look at all the roles that you play in your life, whether it's wife, partner, mother, etc., look at how can I touch each of those areas in a meaningful way each week, instead of necessarily trying to be present to everything all the time the way you were doing before. Just be more intentional. And then I would go back to the authenticity piece, especially when you're starting a business, you begin hiring. As soon as to start off as yourself from the beginning is essential. You are the brand to begin with. So if you want people to be able to connect with that and something you can sustain and grow, you got to be real from the beginning, because after a while, trying to fake it gets tiresome, and we can't hold up the mask forever.
So what do you think are the top 3 things that you personally have done that have been critical to your success?
I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I love a good risk. I think being bold has very much paid off, including, you look at the name Fierce. It's not neutral. So being bold, being willing to take a risk has been essential. Building relationships around me. I don't claim and I don't want to know it all. I view my job as a leader not to have all the answers, but to be able to go and get the answers. I also don't believe a leader's job is to be right. I believe a leader's job is to get it right. So I am constantly reaching out, building relationships through conversations. If there's a skill, if there's something essential that the company needs and we don't have it in-house, then I go look for the best expert I can, and I sponge. I just learn and learn and learn so that then I can bring that in for myself and give that to the team. So not being shy about where you have some weak areas, but instead going out and seeking it. We all like to teach others what we know. And finally, I think it was mentioned in my bio as well, being curious and inquisitive. I ask a lot of questions when I'm in meetings. Very rarely am I making a statement. I want to stay open. I don't want Fierce or myself to ever get baked, if you will. I like to stir the pot. I like, to just keep all of the windows open. And the only way we can do that is by staying curious.
And so I assume that what you enjoy most about running a business is the challenge.
It is. It's that opportunity to take something off of a page, taking a concept and turning it into a reality, to create something out of nothing. I mean, it's a creative process for me. My background is in film and video, and I owned a branding agency before Fierce, and business has always been a very creative process. I love it, and it's constantly changing. I mean, what you built to sustain you from a $1 to $3 million company is not what it will be to then grow you from a $3 to $5 million company. That puzzle is always needing to break apart and be put together again, and I love that endeavor.
That's true. As I say, that getting to your first million is the most difficult, and then adding each million after that gets a little bit easier. But getting there the first time, it's like it took me 10 years to be an overnight success kind of thing. So that's so true, you know? So,
yeah.
So what's the biggest impact that you think Fierce has had on organizations long term?
Well, we have turned around cultures. We have taken companies that were really, you know, the C-suite was even arguing between themselves, and brought them into harmony, cleared up misunderstanding. We all, as humans, we like to make up stories. You know, in the vacuum of anything, we tend to come up with worst case scenarios, and we like to window shop and look at all the windows of, you know, well, what is this person thinking about me? And an email misinterpretation can happen so easily. I mean, I know I've sent an email that just says, okay, great, and I've had someone, you know, say, is something wrong? You know, it's like we put these tones and misunderstanding around things. So clearing that up and then giving companies the tools to bring teams together, to go from command and control to a collaborative mindset, so that they are building strategy on reality instead of fantasy. Making those shifts and seeing these companies really start to grow those teeth, that traction that's needed to pull their business and teams forward is just amazing.
Well, that's great. I mean, I would think that some of the women who have had an impact on you are your mom. You know, she started this company, so she had to be a big impact on you. And were there any other women that had an impact on your success?
You know, I thought about that. I saw that question and I thought about it. And, you know, there isn't anyone in particular, aside from my mom. I mean, she really did, at the time, back in the 70s, she was breaking through the glass ceilings, you know. As soon as she'd see one, she'd just try to punch through it. And I, from observing, learned a lot from her. And I have a sister, and that notion of, you know, you girls can do anything. There's nothing that is unavailable to you. That's all a choice. If you decide not to, that's a choice. That's your choice you're making. So that was huge. And even my great-grandmother was an entrepreneur back in the Great Depression, was thinking of very creative ways. And she was selling sandwiches to the workers on the street, and then they would have events to go to, but they couldn't afford to buy nice clothes, so she started renting, like taking her husband's clothes and lending them to them, renting them out, and pretty soon she had a very successful costume shop in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So I think it's a bit in the blood, and I really, because of those strong women in my life, have always looked to myself for my North Star.
Isn't that interesting? Because the people always ask me, who was my mentor? And, of course, there weren't a lot of women when I started out, but I always say my biggest mentor was my mom. And she was never in business, but just her philosophy, her ethics, her persistence, her discipline, all of those things are a part of who I am. So I agree with you. I think moms have a great effect, and I hope the moms listening to this understand the effect they are having on their children, because it is a lot. So if people wanted to get in touch with you or find out about the company, what's your website? How can they reach you? That kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The website is Fierce Inc. That's FIERCEINC.com. And you can email us as well at info@fierceinc.com. And come check us out and engage us in a conversation. We can start by email and take it by there. But we work with organizations from, you know, the Fortune 5. We work globally, as you said, all the way down to small nonprofit organizations. I have yet to see, I mean, as long as companies are employing people, there's a place that Fierce can impact positively your results.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Halley, and thank everyone for listening to Women in Business, the show that brings you women entrepreneurs and senior managers. I hope you enjoyed our show today. Connect with me on Facebook and Twitter, and be sure to download my ebook, Life Lessons from an SOB, on my website, spunkyoldbroad.com, where you can find information on my speeches, coaching, and resources. You can email me at gailcarson13@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.